Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Redline Baseball Show. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, and I am joined by the coach, Terrence Jackson, as we talk about the unfortunate White Sox season-ending loss to the Oakland A's 6-4. But before we get into tonight's game, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. If you're watching us on YouTube Live, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're watching us on Facebook Live, go ahead and like our show and share it with as many people as you can. Lot to discuss here tonight. I'll try to be part psychologist. I'll try to be optimistic, but I'm also not going to hold back my criticism for what we just all witnessed today. An unfortunate season-ending loss to the Oakland Athletics, 6-4. And TJ, tough day for the White Sox. What can you say, man? You win some, you lose some, but this sure feels like a game where the Sox should have won this game, man. But, you know, what can I say? They ended up not having enough offense to pull it out. One of the things you had said was that they were going to have to mash the ball today. We did that early in the game, and then the offense just couldn't get it done even when they had runners in scoring position. So your thoughts on today's loss to the A's?
It was a tough day for the White Sox. It was kind of a hard game to watch, especially early with all the pitching changes going on for the Sox and the A's. A lot of mistakes made on the White Sox part. They did not get the job done on the mound. Offensively, they should have had enough. Unfortunately, their pitching let them down today, and that's unfortunate, for a team with so much talent and so much promise, not, for next year, but for this year. Because nothing is promised to us next year. We don't know what's happening with Crochet now. Eloy has a foot injury, and that's never good for an athlete. So, we had a chance this year to get it done, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, very unfortunate, and we're not gonna be kind on this show. We're gonna keep it real, just like our listeners are. And, the comments have already started. So let's just talk about the big elephant in the room. Ricky Renteria and his decisions. I don't even know which decision to start with. It's been so many. But let's be honest. I mean, Renteria has been bad all year. We've all known about it. It was the fear we all had that we get into a situation where he would kind of take us out of the game. So I guess we can start with his first questionable decision of the day, and starting Dane Dunning. And I'm using the word starting very loosely because Dunning wasn't in but about 5 minutes of the game. Your thoughts on starting Dane Dunning and then the very quick hook that this guy got?
It was ridiculous. What are you going to start him for? He's a starting pitcher who's supposed to give you 5, perhaps 6 innings, and you put him in the game for 2/3 of an inning. What for? That's a waste of time. And then you bring in a relief pitcher who you just drafted and just called up. Then you bring in another relief pitcher who's supposed to be your best setup man. It's just a ridiculous set of circumstances that only controlled by the manager. That he put his team on the defense in the first inning of the baseball game. It's just a ridiculous thing that he did, and like I said, it was hard to watch. It was hard to swallow. I had to go take 2 Percocet just to get through the doggone ball game.
I mean, I didn't know what he was doing. I understood. Okay, so the guy gave up. You got 2 people on base, and you got Matt Olson up, and you want to go get a lefty. And so that was his logic. Hey, I want to get out of this first inning. I don't want to end up down. But my thing was, if you were going to do that, if you were going to only give the kid, that short of a leash, why even start him? Why even start him? My whole thing was, and I said it yesterday on the show, start Dylan Cease. Okay? Of all the people you had left who were starting pitchers, was it, I don't even know if Lopez was on the roster, but Lopez, you had Carlos Rodon, and you had Dylan Cease. These are starting pitchers. I was like, you got to go with one of them. And then if they start to falter, then you have your next person up mentality going through there. But he gave this guy 2/3 of an inning. He had runners on first and third. He was like, all right, I got to go get him. And I think what was the most scary thing for me, T, he had Crochet warming up on the second batter of the game. So my thing is, psychologically, that sends a huge message to your team that, first of all, to your pitcher, that you have absolutely no confidence in him, but to your team in general, that, if we give up a run or two here, guys, I don't think you can come back. I got to shut this down right here in the first inning of the game. What are your thoughts on that?
You're sitting here with a record-setting offense, and you have no confidence in your team. Your pitching staff's not that bad. Your pitching staff is only as good as you are, and doggone it. I mean, could you script a better way to mess up a ball game? It's like he sat down to think of ways in which to screw this game up. I can't imagine screwing a game up worse than that. I mean, you bring in you start a guy who started for you all year. He's been either your third or your fourth starter, and you pitch him 2/3 of an inning, and then you bring in 1 inning relief pitchers to back him up when you still have 2 or 3 starters sitting on the bench. I can't imagine what kind of effect that had on the team. And them wondering, what is this guy doing? I can't imagine that they talked about this before the game, because he may have gotten roasted about this. I mean, could you really set up a situation where you say, well, I'm going to start Dane Dunning, and if he gets into trouble in the first inning, I'm going to bring in the rookie who has pitched 1 inning all year, 1 inning each time that he has come into the ball game, maybe a total of 2 or 3 innings all year. I'm going to bring him in because I like his stuff. Jesus Christ. What were we doing? What were we thinking? Was he even in the game? Was he in the dugout? Was that a dummy standing in the dugout?
I mean, it's I can't explain Ricky Renteria's decisions. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, that this guy needs to be fired. The entire White Sox nation is saying, go ahead and fire Renteria. We'll have to see what they do.
Look, Jason, we talked yesterday about the mistakes the Cubs made in personnel. But one mistake they did not make is when they found out that Joe Madden was available, the first phone call they made was to fire Ricky Renteria.
Yep.
And why was that? That's because they knew that he was just a stopgap, a door handle, that he was just there to get them through the season. He wasn't there to win baseball games for them. He wasn't there to take them to a championship. He was just there to hold the door open for Joe Madden to take over and take the Cubs to a championship. The White Sox made a huge mistake. We talked about this last year in keeping Ricky Renteria. When they decided to sign the catcher, when they decided to get Keuchel, Grandal, when they decided to sign Keuchel, at that time they should have slammed the door on the Ricky Renteria era and picked up one of these other guys. I don't too much care who it was at this point, because this guy he did not do a good job last year, and he did not do a good job this year, and he did an awful job in this game.
I mean, I was pulling for Joe Girardi when he was available last season, because I knew what the White Sox were going to do. And I said, if you bring up Luis Robert and the rest of your young talent, obviously none of us knew 2020 would happen. But, I mean, we saw what was happening, in spring training. You kind of got a hint on what this team could be about. But by then it was too late. You had let all the good managerial candidates kind of go.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't, Jason. It's one sitting in the studio over there. Bring Ian back. Didn't he win a championship for you? I don't care what he says. Put him in the dugout and let him do his thing.
Yeah. I think TJ, one thing let's say we had a whole season, 162 game season. I think had we had that opportunity probably halfway through the season, Rick Hahn would have had the guts to pull Ricky Renteria in the middle of the season and say, you know what, I can't tolerate this foolishness. I've got a squad going into the playoffs. I do have a manager in the studio. Then maybe he could fire Renteria mid-season. I mean, let's not forget, the Florida Marlins did that one time and brought in a guy named Joe McEwen, and they ended up winning a World Series. So,
that's right.
I think only having the 60-game season kind of tied Rick's hands. But the problem is Rick is the one that tied his own hands. We knew Renteria was not the manager for this team. He rolled with him, and he got himself in trouble. The second thing we could talk about is at the trade deadline, I was saying the White Sox need at least another starter. The White Sox need at least another starter. I understood that meant you may have to give up Andrew Vaughn. You may have even had to give up Nick Madrigal to get you a real starter. But you know what? It would have prevented us from having to go into this game 3 trying to figure out who the heck was going to be the starter. And looking at the choices we had, he had Dunning, he had Dylan Cease, he had Rodon. If those are his choices, some of this smoke needs to be delivered toward Rick Hahn in terms of how he set up this team and also what he did with his designated hitter, who in game 3, you didn't even have the confidence in playing, which I was all for, because Encarnacion was not hitting the ball. But how much of this smoke do we need to turn to Rick Hahn?
Maybe a little. Only because, only because he decided to keep Renteria. If you're going to keep Renteria, then you had to Renteria-proof the team and give him something to work with, like you said, as a third starter. But I'm not so sure he may have pitched Verlander 2/3 of an inning. Who knows what he would have done? I mean, what he did was just idiocy. He had no confidence in his starters, but sometimes as the manager, you have to show it anyway. Rick Hahn, maybe he could have gotten him another starter, but I don't think the team needed it. We don't know. We don't know what Dane Dunning could have done. We don't know what Dylan Cease could have done in that situation. And now we won't know until next year if the Sox make the playoffs. This was a perfect opportunity for him to either put Cease on the mound or leave Dunning out there and show us what they got. Because they may have turned out to be outstanding pitchers. I mean, you take a look at the Dodgers lefty, Clayton Kershaw. He's a great regular season pitcher, but in the postseason, he struggles. So even if Hahn would have made the move to get him a known starter, that guy may not have been able to perform in the playoffs. We had some excellent arms on the bench. Give them an opportunity to do their thing because that's what you had. He didn't even give them an opportunity. I can't imagine being a starting pitcher on that team right now, understanding the fact that I only got 2/3 of an inning to go, and then no other starters saw the mound during this game. Did any other start? Oh, Rodon. He loves Rodon. And he loves to put Rodon into situations where Rodon can't get out of. Right. What kind of nonsense is that?
Yeah,
at least start him. It's just unreal what he.
They used 9 pitchers in a 9-inning game. Ricky Renteria used 9 pitchers in a 9-inning game. What in the hell? I've never seen that before in my life, and I'll be turning 50 in a couple of days, and I've been watching baseball since I could. I've never seen that before.
Please, people, anybody just let me know if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe Ricky Renteria hands was tied. Maybe Rick Hahn should have gotten him another pitcher. Maybe he could have gotten him. I don't know. Mike Trout. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I firmly believe you pull the trigger on Ricky Renteria, this team is still playing. Period.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree with you. with there. I definitely am not going to defend Ricky Renteria. I never have, and I never will. But let's talk about some other things that we did see. The White Sox had bases loaded, I think, twice in this game. Couldn't punch home a run in those situations. The eighth inning, first and second, you had Anderson. He got a one-out hit. That was followed by, I think we got on a walk. Or right after that, you substitute Dyson in. So you got speed on the bases, first and second. Now, you and I are both fans of speed. All right, you got Jose Abreu up.
Yeah, let's stand on first. Let's stand on first and second.
And we're going to stand on first and second. I'm sitting here like, dude, double steal, man. So put double steal. Even if you get Anderson in third, you still got Dyson on second and scoring position with your best hitter up. I was like, this is just asking for a possible double play situation, because if they pull off that steal successfully, you still get one run across. You know what I'm saying? And in the playoffs, you got to scratch and fight for every run you can.
Look, I halfway understand the fact that they didn't steal, but why put Dyson in the game then?
Mm-hmm.
Why use him? You put yourself in a situation where now Grandal's gone, your other catcher's DH, and now you got to put this other guy in the game to preserve the DH. So
which they didn't do.
So why put Dyson in the game if you're not going to move these guys? For him to score from first on an extra base hit, we're talking about Oakland here, pal. I could have scored from first on an extra base hit. So, what was the point in that? So, it's just another useless move by him to, he's just doing things, it seems like without thought. Now, who is his bench coach? Do we know who his bench coach is?
I believe it's McEwing. I think it's Joe McEwing.
Okay. Well, somebody needs to help this guy out, because those just, I understand the fact that they didn't move, but okay, then why put Dyson in the game? You could just leave Grandal there.
Right. So we get a comment from one of our administrators, SportsZone Chicago. They believe that the number of pitches doesn't matter because White Sox left 11 men on base, and you can't blame Ricky Renteria for that. Absolutely not. You can't blame him for that. You do have to come through with some clutch situations, without a doubt. But why were we even put in that situation is because Ricky Renteria made the decisions he made in the first inning going forward, which told his team, I don't have confidence in you. And that's a very hard thing for people to overcome. You cannot, you and I both play baseball. You cannot send that message to your team that early in the game. It's just going to, especially a young team, a young, inexperienced team who were following the lead of their manager. He basically told them, I don't understand what you guys are doing out there. I don't think you're going to score. So Andre Kellum, he's with you, TJ. He says we're on the same page, bro. So Andre does agree with you. And I mean, we're all not happy with Ricky Renteria. And again, I'm going to go back to this situation with the bases loaded. The White Sox got to come through with some clutch hits there. I thought Abreu had a very bad at bat in the eighth inning with that situation first and second. You saw him expanding his zone, which is something he has not done, throughout this season. He's been very disciplined, but he chased two really bad pitches. The ball he hit into the double play on was out of the zone as well. So, I'm not cutting slack for anybody who's at bat either. You do have to put that on the players. But this manager, he set the wheels in motion for this game, and very disappointed in that. But let's talk about it. Go ahead, make a point.
I want to talk about the SportsZone Chicago. The A's left 12 runners on base. Mm-hmm. Okay, the A's left 12 runners on base. See, the object of baseball, and it's a real simple object, is to score more runs than the other team. So you want to prevent the other team from scoring, and that's where the pitching comes in. Okay, if you're constantly bringing in pitchers without rhythm, without any idea of what they're doing on the guy who walked in 2 runs, okay, why was he in the game? That's because we were changing pitchers. First of all, Renteria had the foresight to intentionally walk a batter with runners on second and third and 2 outs. Why are you putting another run on base? Okay, so now after you do that, now the pitcher that you bring in with the bases loaded, after you walk the bases loaded yourself, the guy that you choose to bring in walks the next two batters to bring in 2 runs. Oh yeah, it makes a huge difference, the number of pitches. It makes a huge difference on that mound. That mound is where you win those ball games. We had the lead. It was 3-0. We had the lead. He walked it away. He gave it away by just shuttling in pitchers. You break the rhythm of your team. You're breaking it. Every time you change a pitcher, you have to walk to the mound, walk back to the dugout. That guy has to warm up. Your defense is standing out there. You're just standing out there waiting. Every time you change pitchers, ask a defensive player how that feels.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Catcher how that feels.
I used to absolutely hate. I used to absolutely hate when I played, and I had a pitcher on the mound who was walking people in, because at that point you're not even giving your defense a chance. You're not even giving us a chance to make a play. If you're up there walking people, and Matt Foster, the 2 walks he had were bad. I mean, he was missing really bad. But again, here's a guy that was put in a situation, again, who's a rookie pitcher, who you put him in the playoffs in a really, really tough spot. A really, really tough spot. It wasn't a clean inning. And, we see what the result is. That's all on Ricky Renteria, if you ask me. The pitching stuff is all on him. Now, once you get in that batter's box, now it's all up to you. It's all up to you. You got to come through. You got to hit the baseball. So Maya Kai is asking about the one play where Tim Anderson hit the double into the right field corner and Magical pulled up at third. Now, I actually didn't have a problem with that. When I originally looked at it, I was like, man, why is Magical not going? But when they showed, there was one angle ESPN showed on that play. And the Oakland A's right fielder did a great job of getting to that ball as quickly as he could. He hit his cutoff guy. And Magical, for the first time this year, actually paid attention to the third base coach who held him. I did not have a problem with that at all, given the situation, because I did not want to see Magical get thrown out at home, because we've seen him do crazy stuff on the bases all year. This was one time I thought, the guy did a great job in picking up his third base coach and, not pushing the issue, not getting thrown out at home. So once again, if you're joining us, go ahead and send us a comment if you're watching us on Facebook or if you're watching us on YouTube. We'll try to get through as many comments as you can. I know we have a lot of people who are frustrated and you want to vent. I'm cool. Go ahead and do your venting here. We're not going to take it personally. If you got questions for Coach Jackson, go ahead as well. It's just a very frustrating loss for White Sox Nation. I do have an overall perspective, to look at this season, but now ain't the time for that. Now it's just for everybody venting. Go ahead and get it out. I'd rather you take it out here than on your local.
Jason, all I can think in my head is Rocky 3 and Apollo Creed. There is no tomorrow. We needed to win this today. Gee whiz. We had a great ball club. We have a great ball club, and they're sitting at home with us.
So David Rodriguez, he writes in, what happened to Cooper? Speaking of Don Cooper, our pitching coach, where is his input? Do you think Don Cooper had some input in this game, and if so, what it was? Or do you think, as a coach, this is definitely something that's all on the head coach?
That's a good question, David. Where was his input? Back in 2005? I mean, I imagine Don Cooper, with all the experience that he has, had something to say about what was going on. But again, the call is on the manager. Okay, so I would love to know Don Cooper's thoughts on this situation and how he felt about it. But again, Cooper could have stood on his head and whistled Dixie. It wouldn't have mattered, because the final call goes to that manager. And I agree with you, David. I think Cooper probably should have stood on his head and insisted on the fact that this man give his pitchers an opportunity to show their stuff. He probably should have. Maybe there should have been a fight in the dugout or something.
Right.
Anything to not let this lunacy take place on the White Sox side of the field.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to describe it, as lunacy. As I see Ricky Renteria is on now, doing his post-game press conference. Unfortunately, I can't tune
They
in.
fire him yet? They fire him yet?
I do not see it scrolled. Ricky Renteria fired as White Sox manager, so that is not happening.
Does anybody have Kenny Williams' number? I'll text him myself.
But I mean, this is going to be a very interesting off season here with us not knowing what's going to happen. I mean, the 2021 schedule is out already. Baseball is trying to play 162 games next year, so you can go on the White Sox website and look at the schedule for next year. But in terms of what they're going to do with free agency and all that good stuff due to the COVID situation, we don't have any clue on what that is right now. But we're analyzing this unfortunate loss tonight. Once again, the White Sox lose 6-4, unfortunately, to the Oakland A's. Dexter Childs is saying, should Don Cooper be the next Sox manager? Absolutely not. I do not want Cooper being a manager. Let him be the pitching coach. And the truth be told, we're kind of looking at him at a certain point now with just being the pitching coach. Don's kind of getting up there.
Since you asked Dexter no on Don Cooper, and let me tell you, my choices, if they can't get Ron Washington out of Atlanta, let's bring Ozzie back and let him take this team to a championship next year, because at this point we need someone who can, Ron Washington is a great defensive coach. You see what Atlanta does. He's their third base coach. He takes no stuff from no one. He did take his Texas Rangers to the World Series 2 years in a row. They didn't win it, but they went.
Right.
That's Ron Washington, and we know what Ozzie can do. So
and let's not also forget AJ Hinch is going to be out there, and my man from Boston who got fired because he was banging the drums. Now here's the whole thing with that. People are saying, well, these guys did this, they did that. They got penalized. Trust me, these dudes ain't worked for a year. They had to sit out this year. So they did get penalized. I am kind of against the cancel culture that we have right now in society. I understand people are going to make mistakes, but it seems like now if people make mistakes, we want to give them a death sentence, and I just think that's absolutely ridiculous. You can't tell me I wouldn't take AJ Hinch over Ricky Renteria after watching this game. You can't tell me I wouldn't take Renteria after this game. Hell, I'll be out there banging drums for him if that's what he need me to do. I can't deal with Ricky Renteria no more. So there definitely gonna be some opportunities. There definitely gonna be some people whose names pop up. And I agree with you, Andre Keller. We're not drinking or smoking when we see what we see for this White Sox team and what we saw from Ricky Renteria.
We're very lucid right now. We know what we saw, and we know what we're talking about here. They could shut us up right now, though. Just fire Renteria, and we'll talk about something else.
Really a tough loss. And once again, I want to let you all know, if you're watching us, don't forget to download that SportsZone Chicago app. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on iTunes. Please go ahead, download that app. It's got a link to all of our shows. My main show, which is on Monday nights from 6 to 8, What's Up, Cuz, is I host with Lance Irvin. That's going to be a fun show this Monday. And also, we have other shows. Don't forget the Cigar Fellas on Saturdays. I know they're going to have a lot to talk about. Jamal Hart. And, of course, our flagship show, Sean and Maya in the mornings. And I already know Sean and Maya are not going to be happy tomorrow morning. So the Sean and Maya show is going to probably be off the chain tomorrow. I would definitely tune them in at 9. I will be joining them at 11. But hopefully I'll still have something to say. But let's talk about, we did have a couple of positives that came out of this game. One, we saw Luis Robert step to the plate, and he stepped to the plate in a big way. He hit a bomb, TJ, a bomb, who they say is the longest home run ever hit in the Coliseum during the StatCom history. 487 feet. And when he hit it, I was like, well, that was not coming back. Your thoughts on Robert?
It would be safe to say he got it all, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Robert has a lot of potential. He's a strong guy. He's the closest thing that we've seen on a baseball field to Bo Jackson, when he was healthy. And I tell you what, he'll go play this winter, I'm sure, somewhere, and he'll be ready to, for spring training next year to show us another level of his game, because he's he has, he has unreal potential, talent wise.
Talk a little bit about what needs to develop with him. And again, I feel I'm not judging any of these guys. I know none of these guys have had a full major league season. That includes Madrigal and Robert. So we basically got a glimpse of what these guys could do, but it was a very positive glimpse. What does Robert need to do to work on his game, not just hitting, but defensively as well, in your opinion?
Well, he needs to work on his timing defensively. His timing is a little bit off, especially when he's going to the wall, tracking fly balls over his head. So he could work on that. Laterally, he's outstanding as far as going to get the baseball. Coming in, he's very good. It's just going over his head. His timing is a little bit off, so he needs to work on that a little bit. And offensively, just making adjustments at the plate. He does not have to just be a home run hitter, a guy who hits the ball 500 feet. He can be a guy who hits for average. So work on that ball up the middle away. Work on letting that ball get deep into the zone and driving the ball the other way because he has the strength, the hand speed, and the hand-eye coordination to do it. So those are a couple of things that he would want to work on, in my opinion.
Learn how to lay off that outside slider, or getting him to also go the other way. I think he gets a lot of hittable pitches that are just on the outside part of that zone. That if he just drove him the other way, especially with his power, we know he can do it. He's going to get a heck of a lot more RBIs. He's going to get a lot more hits, but he's got to start learning to use the other side of the field more to his advantage. And I know that's part of developing as a young hitter in Major League Baseball. We're asking this guy to do a lot.
If you saw his last at bat, the guy blew him away with fastballs.
Mm-hmm.
So he caught him guessing. So you can tell that the slider is on his mind. So if he just works on staying back and letting that ball get deeper into the zone and hitting the ball the other way, allowing himself, to take the ball the other way, then he won't have to guess as much as far as those sliders are concerned.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I know this is all the perils of coming with, having a young hitter, but, I'm willing to deal with them growing pains for that guy. I'll definitely deal with the growing pains for him. Let's talk about Eloy. Eloy came in. He did start. We had mentioned that on the show. Hey, put him in there to DH. He gave you 2 at-bats. He got a double, and then, unfortunately, he had to go out due to that nagging foot injury. This game could have been a lot different with Eloy in the lineup. Unfortunately, due to injury, he apparently couldn't keep going. Talk about Eloy's game and what you saw from him this year, and what would you like to see from him next year?
Again, defensively, just work on the basics. We don't need him to be Willie Mays out there. Just be able to make routine plays, and offensively, continue to expand his game. He's good right now. He's ready for the All-Star game right now, in my opinion. He hits the ball the other way well. He can drive the ball to the pull side. He can drive the ball to the opposite side. He can drive the ball up the middle. He hits. He knows how to hit when there are runners on base. Eloy's offensively, in my opinion, Eloy's ready now. It's just defensively, he just needs to work on his fundamentals, and just make the routine plays. We don't really care that much about his defense, being crazy out there. I mean, he has a good arm.
Mm-hmm.
He has speed. He has athleticism. Just work on the fundamental things in the outfield to be, competent out there. But offensively, he's ready now. Just continue to expand his game.
One of the things I think Eloy's got to work on, obviously the defense is one thing, but I think he's got to learn his body. I think he needs to learn his body. I think he doesn't understand his body, how it works. I can tell he's not the most agile guy in the world. So, okay, if you don't have that type of agility, don't try to do stuff that your body won't allow you to do. And if he learns his body, I don't think he'll get hurt as much. He'll know his limitations. The diving in the net stuff he was doing earlier in the year, the running in the walls, and, some of the slides he did was atrocious. He got injured on this last injury, which has kept him out most of this playoff series, was he slid in the home plate when he didn't have to slide, TJ. There was no throw coming to the plate that was even close. All he had to do was walk across the plate. He would have been fine. Now, I think the White Sox actually lied to the fan base when they said he got hurt coming around third. I watched that tape the whole way. He was coming around third fine. He didn't start limping until after he slid, when you could see his cleat got stuck in the ground clearly, sliding in the home plate. Then he got up and limped around. So, you were SID, you got to cover for your people. But the bottom line is he shouldn't have been sliding in the home and he wouldn't have been hurt. So I think Eloy is the thing I want him to learn most is his body, when to take risks, when not to take risks. Because he's a big part of the team, and we missed him this series. So, that's what I'd like to see for Eloy going forward. Let's talk about Nick Madrigal. Nick Madrigal picked up his coach's stock. All right, woo, hallelujah. That's progress. His base running has been, talk about Madrigal and what you'd like to see out of his game developing going forward.
Well, get a little bit stronger, first of all, because, he's going to have to be able to hit the ball in the gap a little bit, to be to make it in this league, because once they start to make adjustments and start pounding him inside, fastball after fastball, then he's going to have to get that bat through the zone a little bit better. And then just be the player that he is. I think he's just a little wound up. He just came up from the minor leagues or whatever they had this year. And, he just needs time on the field. Nick Madrigal is a good baseball player. He just needs time out there to show it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this young kid is a keeper. That don't mean I wouldn't move him in a heartbeat if I didn't think we can get us a starting pitcher, because I'll throw Louis Garcia at second base in a heartbeat. I give Lurie a lot of credit. He tried to come back and help this team the first couple of games. They didn't play him today. You could definitely tell his timing was off batting. But I mean, the guy's coming from like a broken wrist or broken fingers or whatever. He had a hand injury. He hadn't played in 40-some days. So, of course, his timing is going to be off. And, I just want to bring that up, too. We try to look at this whole situation with levity, this White Sox playoff run here. Injuries, they definitely played a role. Again, I mentioned Garcia. Aaron Bummer was coming back from injury. Eloy was injured. Talk a little bit about, just the injuries this team suffered this year and, how that kind of hurt them.
Well, I mean, it's part of the game. It's going to happen. Players are going to get injured. You would hope that, fundamentally, that the manager and the staff, they're working on things fundamentally baseball-wise to keep them from being injured in play if possible. And like you said, knowing their limitations as athletes can help them to avoid injury as well. And, whatever their strength and conditioning situation is, of course, you always want to take a look at that to make sure that, it's on point and it's keeping your athletes healthy throughout the course of the season. But injuries happen. There's not much you can really do about that. If you're going to go out there and you're going to play and you're going to give it your all, at some point in time, you're going to get hurt. And, the general manager has to make certain that the depth on the team is such that an injury won't kill you long term.
Without a doubt. And when I think of injuries, I think about Yohan Moncada, who was basically a shell of himself all year. But I got a lot of credit for gutting it out. Today he got a base hit and he stole a base. Moncada is a ball player. For him to even come back from COVID, we all know COVID is affecting everyone differently. He obviously was feeling the effects from it and said so. I think that hurt him this year, and that was kind of unfortunate as well. I think Moncada is going to be, he'll be okay. Just like I think the White Sox will be okay. I mean, when you think about it, they out-hit Oakland today 12-8. They out-hit them, but unfortunately we walked 8 batters.
Right.
Well,
it makes a difference.
That's like giving up 8 extra singles. So it's almost like they had 16 hits instead of 8. The pitching has got to get stronger. Whether that means you're going to bring in some experience, but I also think, again, the theme of this is a very young team. We have a lot of rookie pitchers on this staff too, TJ. So let's talk about what would you like to see in terms of the development from the pitching staff. specifically with Dylan Cease, who I just think is going to be a heck of a ball player for this team in the years going forward.
Well, again, today would have been would have been a great barometer for Dylan to get out there to see what he would do in a playoff situation under pressure, to see what he has inside of him. You know, I think that there's the guy that used to pitch for San Francisco, who was an average regular season pitcher. He got into the postseason and became a legend. And the only reason that happened is because he got the opportunity to do so. And a guy like Dane Dunning or Dylan Cease needed that opportunity today, and they didn't get it. So now we're going to have to go through another season, get through the year. Hopefully, we can get to the playoffs, and then give these guys this opportunity that we just missed this year. We really needed to see what those guys could do in under playoff stress. And we didn't get that. We didn't get a chance to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you there, TJ. I mean, I feel as a fan of the team that we got robbed in that sense. We didn't get a chance to see our young talent go out there. I'm just really upset that you did not put Dylan Cease in this game today. You gave him one inning yesterday, and he was fine that one inning. I think the guy should have started this game personally. Okay. That's just me. I thought he's got the best stuff of the people you've had, and we've seen when he's on, he can be a beast. And let's say he had went out there and he had been on, for a good 3 innings and he got a 3-0 lead. Now you can, manage your bullpen a lot better. So, I think, we're going to put the onus on the players, but you also have to have a manager who's going to put the players in the best position. And Ricky Renteria, he unfortunately didn't do that. And
right. I think he's going to force Rick Hahn to go out and get a proven pitcher, when he may not need to. Dane Dunning may be good enough. Dylan Cease may be good enough. One of the other guys they have may be good enough, but we never got a chance to see that. Now the White Sox are going to have to go spend money to find somebody that they think is good enough when they might have them already in the dugout.
And let's not forget, Michael Kopech didn't even pitch this year. He's still going to be unproven.
That's right.
What's it going to be like him coming back after a whole year off? We don't know the reasons. We do know he's going through a divorce. And I remember that year Frank Thomas was going through a divorce, and he was terrible that year. So if the young man had the opportunity to sit out a year and take care of some things in his personal life, I have no problem with that at all. I'm just excited to know he's on the roster, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do coming back from Tommy John surgery next year. He's got a full season for that surgery to heal now. So he's going to be a person who I'm really looking forward to seeing here come February when pitchers and catchers report. So, as we kind of change the tone and we close the chapter on this season, what are you looking forward from this team in 2021, just with the guys who we know will be on the team and coming back?
Well, build on what they did this year. Understand that they know that they're, one of the more talented teams in Major League Baseball, and take advantage of that fact. Get out there, get an early start, jump out there, get out there and beat these teams that you're supposed to beat naturally. Win your games at home, 500 on the road, get to the playoffs, and let's do it all over again. I think they can do it. They have enough talent. They have enough talent as is right now, no changes, to get right back to the playoffs.
That's basically kind of the gist of Maya's comments. She's saying that, this was a Braves' first playoff as well. Even though he is a veteran, he doesn't have any playoff experience as well. And that is true. It's a completely different game come playoff time. And that's for all the players. I'm sure Jose was very excited to be there after his, tenure with the White Sox, and he's had a lot of down years. So I do agree with you that there was a lot of positives out of this season. And I guess that's kind of my overall outlook and vibe. When I look at this shortened season, first of all, I was just happy we were able to get baseball. I was happy to be able to see my White Sox play. I'm happy that we only had one positive COVID test throughout the season. I was very concerned about that. I wasn't even sure if this season was going to go. So I'm very happy with that. I think my goal before COVID this year was White Sox need to make the playoffs this year. I think they got a team to make the playoffs. I'd love to see them win the division. I think they had the talent to do that. So we came up one game short of winning the division. We did go to the playoffs, and I did see some development in some players. So overall, when I step back away from today, I would say we accomplished what I thought they should do this year. Now, next year, obviously, I want to see a different manager on this team. I want to see them get one more veteran starter. If we need them, we need them. If we don't, we don't. But I'd rather have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. Because, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Kopech when he gets a full season. He's got to pitch. Same thing with Dylan Cease. I'd rather have that veteran arm. I'd like to see them not have a couple of people on this roster. You rolled the dice with Encarnacion. It didn't work. Okay, fine. But, you got to get some production out of that DH position, TJ. It could be anybody. You can even go alternative and say, give me a speed guy there. But you got to get some sort of production out of the DH. So I'd like to see them address the DH spot. I like to see them address the pitching, and I'd like to see a new manager. Those are the things I want to see going forward. What do you have in terms of personnel changes that you would like to see going forward?
Well, as far as, of course, new manager, because he just, he can't handle this level of talent, and he just proved it. And I'd like to see them improve their defense in some way or another. I think, with managerial change, they can improve the defense of their third baseman, shortstop, and second baseman. And I like to see them get a first baseman who can actually field the baseball a little bit better than Abreu, because Abreu can DH. And I think he would be a really good DH and a spot first baseman. So I would love to see them get a good first baseman, someone who can improve the level of the infielder's defensive play just by his play alone. And other than that, if they want to go get a starting pitcher, if they want to spend that money, so be it. Go do it, because it will make the team better. But honestly, I don't think they need it. I think they are fine just the way they are. It would be rolling the dice not getting a starting pitcher, but I think the guys that they have are good enough, and I think coaching changes would show that. But those are. It's real simple. I just don't see. I don't see the need for them to make too many changes to this team. If they get a better defensive first baseman and move Abreu over to DH, then I think you would see a marketed improvement on their infield defense. I really would.
And what about Garrett Crochet, who unfortunately left today's game with injury after I think only one or two batters? This guy definitely is a future person, if not in your rotation, definitely on your pitching staff. But they drafted him as a starter. We'll see if he can be a starter. But sometimes those guys who throw it like that, you do have to make them a reliever. But you got somebody throwing 101, 102 who's a lefty coming out your bullpen. He is a very valuable weapon going forward. And we haven't heard a status on what his injury was. Looking at the pending free agents on this team, you've got Encarnacion, Gio Gonzalez, and Lurie Garcia. That's about probably $23 million in salary there. And those are pending free agents. And then your regular free agents would be Alex Colomé, James McCann, and Jared Dyson. So McCann, who I just think is extremely valuable, I just think he calls a better game than Grandal, but of course Grandal has the better stick. What do you do with your catching situation? I kind of asked you this yesterday, but what are you going to do with that catching situation with McCall and with McCann and Grandal?
I'm gonna keep them if I can. Why let a good thing go? If you have two of your better defensive catchers in major leagues, you keep them if possible. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be able to keep them. They don't command that much money, and and they do produce. I don't know if McCann has desires to be a starter every day. A lot of that may depend on that. But if the White Sox can keep both of them, then I think they should. They should at least make that effort.
And so I'll be the wild card here. I'll say if because McCann's gonna be a free agent. So let's say he says, I want to go somewhere where I'm gonna be the starting everyday catcher. Okay. Which is within his right. He can say, I don't care how much money you're gonna throw at me, I don't want to be splitting time, I don't want to be the backup catcher. And you're kind of forced in a decision there where you're gonna either let this guy walk as a free agent or you're gonna bring him back. I'm not gonna lie to you, TJ. I'm gonna keep McCann and I'm gonna trade Grandal.
Okay.
I'm gonna make McCann my starting catcher because of what he does with my pitching staff. We didn't talk about, but Grandal had a catcher's interference error in this game, which put the White Sox in an extra stressful situation as well. His defense, while I hear people saying, well, he's great at framing pitches, let's not forget the play in what was that against Cleveland where the ball was coming to him at home and all he had to do was catch it, make the tag. He missed the ball. He hadn't been that solid behind the plate defensively, and I would rather take some defense on this particular team because I got enough offense. And McCann, he can still hit the ball. So if he puts them in that situation, I'm signing McCann and I'm looking to trade Grandal or telling him, hey, man, we'll move you back up or put you at first base or DH or whatever, which I'm sure he's not going to want to do. And you can't justify it based on the contract you give him. But I think you can get a good return for him. And then I just use Zach Collins as my backup catcher. That's just my thought on that.
Well, in that situation, I would keep Grandal because he is. There's no substitute for having a catcher who can hit, and he's a switch hitter. He's an offensive minded catcher who also happens to be a pretty good defensive catcher. He's a better player than McCann is. McCann has played over his head over the last couple of years. So in that situation, I would keep Grandal. I would let McCann walk, and I would find me another catcher, someone who could back up Grandal. There's no way I would let him go. Not at this point. One more year with this team together, I think we can win the World Series, and I think that would happen a lot faster with Grandal than it would with McCann.
So you're going with the Mike Piazza philosophy of give me a hitting catcher.
Yeah, give me that stroke, man. He can hit from both sides of the plate, and and as you can see, he protects. With Abreu in the lineup after him and Makata before him. I mean, that's pretty deadly. So even if you flip him down and put Abreu before him, you have Yanez after. It's hard to pitch around him, and he's a very, very good hitting catcher. So
no doubt
about that.
No doubt. Yeah. But we're not going to get out of here today without talking about the Cubs. Their game today was rained out. There's some weather in the Chicago area. So their game today, they were rained out. They are scheduled to play the Marlins on a makeup possibly tomorrow. So that game, again, as far as we know, from what they told us yesterday, it's going to be Yu Darvish against Sixto Sanchez. That was what the information was yesterday. TJ and I are here to talk about the Cubs as well. They are fighting for their lives. They have to win tomorrow or their season will be over and they'll be going fishing with our White Sox. Hopefully that is not the case. Hopefully the Cubs can get a win tomorrow. So we'll still have some baseball to talk about here. But let's look forward there to the Cubs. What are they going to have to do tomorrow to win the ball game? And we know they got an extra day of rest.
Well, like we said before yesterday, we need a performance from Yu Darvish. He needs to hold this team, within 3 runs. And then the Cubs offense, they need to find it. They need to find their offense. Get after, be aggressive, get after Miami's pitching. The game tomorrow, it was said that the game will start either at 1:00 or at 7:30. So I don't know that. I know they have it listed at 1:08. I'm not sure what it was depending on what time the game is being play. Maybe it was a weather forecast or something. But anyhow, they need to be aggressive at the plate. They need to really get after it and hopefully get some early runs. If they can get some early runs for you, Darvish, I believe that they will hold the lead and beat them tomorrow, no doubt about it. But if they get off to a funky start and not able to score runs for the first 4 or 5 innings like they have been doing over the last few years, then they may have some trouble because they just don't. I don't know if they feel the pressure later on in the game, but they just don't come. If they don't score early, they don't really have a good chance to win. So they need to get out early, get some runs early, and hold the lead.
I agree. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Coach Terrance Jackson and myself. Once again, the White Sox lose to the Oakland A's 6-4. Season is over, unfortunately, but, a very bright future for the White Sox. I know, being a White Sox fan myself, how frustrating it was to watch this game, especially this last week of the season as well. But I don't think we're going to have to deal with Renteria anymore. I will predict that he's going to be fired because the White Sox Nation is not going to tolerate it. And you can tell on the post-game show, even Frank Thomas and Ozzie Guillen are, their criticism, while they're remaining professional, everybody knows what the problem was with this team this year. So, we'll move forward here, Sox fans. Got a very bright future. In the meantime, I encourage you to keep wearing those masks, continue to practice social distancing. We still have a serious pandemic going on out here. We still have some serious social and political issues going on in this country right now. So you have to be safe on that as well. So just try to love each other more, look after your loved ones and your friends, and stay safe out there. On behalf of Coach Terrance Jackson, I am Jason Palmer. Thank you for tuning in, and check us out tomorrow. Chicago Cubs, Miami Marlins, they're playing. TJ and I will be here about 15 minutes after the game's end to give you analysis. Hopefully we're talking about a Cubs win. Until then, you all take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.